And welcome inside the Backstage Pass. Always a busy day. Of course, a brand new week of shows began yesterday and will continue through Friday of this week. Thanks to our friends out there at hightidecountry.net, also KKTC True Country 99.9 out there in New Mexico and up into Colorado. And of course, out there, all the great work the sponsors do to keep this thing moving. Pleased to welcome back and talk to her. We were talking about this before the album came out in 2022, since Pinto had come out. The new album is Through the Static. It's the EP out there too as well. Love that title of it. Sykamore, back to the broadcast. How you doing?
Good. How are you? It's been a minute.
It has since Pinto came out, and you've been busy and currently in Nashville right now too, right?
I am. Yeah, this is where I live. I kind of split my
Mm-hmm.
time halfway between, like, I'm from Canada, and so I go back to my family quite a bit, but I have a place down here, and this is kind of just where you need to be in my opinion. Like, you're just kind of, even if you're not like actively doing something, it's good to just be, I feel like, in the zeitgeist and kind of just
Mm-hmm.
on people's radar. And so, and you also just get inspired when you're here. So this is a good place to be.
No doubt. Just came back from there a couple of weeks ago when they had the country radio seminar, the
That's
Omni.
right.
Got to
Yeah.
partake in that for the fourth year in a row. Hard to believe it's time is flying just like that too. Got to interview a lot of great artists
Mhm.
out there too. And if that's where any aspiring musician wants to put out their music and continue their artistry, that is the place to be, or at least trying to travel there
Yeah,
several times a year
definitely.
to get the work done. Speaking of that, let me ask you about that, because when I was in town, man, these collaborations are awesome now. I'm looking at some of these award shows, and big names are doing it. Like I said, with the independent artists, you got some crossover stuff. You got different genres of music coming together. Talk about just how important that is for the industry. And would you find yourself doing something like that, or have you already?
I would love to, and I think it's only gonna get more common as genre becomes something that's less important or less on people's minds. I think with the way people consume music now, it's not necessarily a rigid sort of consumption that's by way of format or genre. It's just by the vibe that you feel. So,
Mm-hmm.
you might have a playlist that has a country artist and then a pop artist and a hip hop artist and a rock artist, and it's just kind of how people are feeling. And so I think that the way people have consumed music has kind of paved the way for, artists from different formats to start coming together and collaborating. And then I think that in itself creates its own kind of hybrid sound and creates room for more of that. So I definitely would be down. I'm kind of a crossover artist myself,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that it wouldn't be far fetched at all to see that coming down the pipe at some point.
Yeah, no doubt too. That's the biggest thing. Also, this call it what you want to call it, call a spade or whatever, but a girl power movement, women's country. You look at this, and I
Sure.
love it too, because I interview more females on this brand here than I do other different country artists in the male category out there too,
Hmm.
which I love them both, no doubt about it. Because some great artists doing their thing out there too for whatever it is. But I think this is very important, and I think this movement now kind of continues on, and this is one of the biggest ones I've seen probably since '90s country that I grew up with.
Yeah, I think there's a real resurgence coming back, and I don't know if that's sort of being led by like movies and TV shows that are getting rebooted, and so
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a real like nostalgia buzz that's happening in show business right now, and I think it's just sort of a why not? Like this stuff from 30 years ago is still so effective and it's still so prevalent and on people's minds that it's like, why don't we just go back and revisit it and refresh it in certain ways. And so, and I think, yeah, I'm not complaining about it because I'm not alone in saying that I grew up on that kind of music, and it's, for a lot of people, I think it's what got them in the door as far as listening to country music. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think it holds a special place in people's hearts. And so, yeah, bring back the 90s. I don't I would never dispute that.
Hey, talk about, and of course, I know the answer because you and I've done a few shows together too. But for the
Yeah.
audience out there too that may not know the artist Sycamore out there too, just some musical influences that you grew up listening to that shaped you as an artist.
Well, the first concert I ever saw was Shania Twain at
Mm-hmm.
the Saddle Dome in Calgary, Canada. And she's a big influence on me, not just because she shaped a lot of my, you know, she kind of got me into like really being interested in country music, but now being an artist myself and being similar to her in that I kind of have a foot in country, but also I'm not really afraid of putting pop sentiments into my music. You know, she's just been a real pioneer for me and a real kind of North Star in terms of, you know, what to do next and not to be afraid to integrate all of your influences into your music. And so she was a big one. And then my dad is a big George Strait fan. And so we did a lot of like hat acts. And then he likes a lot of older country too. And so as far as country goes, yeah, it was all those kind of big heavy hitters from the 90s, like Garth Brooks and Alan Jackson. And then later for me, it became more like the Chicks and just a little more the modern, like Jody Messina and, you know, like that little more pop country. And then as far as other genres go, you know, I liked Taylor Swift when she was country and I like her now. I don't really discriminate too much against that. And then, you know, I like a lot of more like alternative pop artists too, like Lana Del Rey is a big influence of mine. And there's a Canadian pop artist named Lights, and she's been a huge influence on me as well. So yeah, just kind of whatever feels good. I don't really think too hard about it. I feel like if it strikes a chord with me and it resonates with me emotionally, then I'll listen to it.
Speaking of that song, I wanted to go there. Good transition there. Emotional comes out as a single 2024 too, before we get into this EP after the first time out here a little bit. But great song. It really fit you as an artist. Love the writing in there. Love the message too.
Thanks. Yeah.
Tell us all about that one. Yeah.
It's the oldest song on the EP by far, because it was actually in contention to be on the Pinto record, which came out in 2022, but it was supposed to come out in 2020. So it was recorded in 2019. So Emotional, I think, was written in 2018. So it's actually quite old compared to the others. And I kind of felt like it was a shame that it didn't get cut along with, you know, the 12 or 13 that we ended up recording. And as I started thinking about this next project and how I wanted to depart from Pinto a little bit, it kind of just made the short list because it had made the short list before. And then as the rest of the subject matter came together, it just seemed to be a really good fit. And it didn't seem out of pocket to include it in these 4 songs. And so I think the reason that we put it out first, because I think it's because it was done first. We were like, sure, just send that one out. And it felt great to put it out because it was definitely waiting in line the longest. So, yeah.
Speaking of that record, I want to build on some highlights there too, and we'll take a time out in a second. But I always feel like it's important to lead off a record with a song that's going to really set the tone for the rest of the album, if that makes sense too. And you had so many great tracks on there with some of the ones we'll dive into. But that was one of my favorite albums in 2022. Kind of look back on some highlights and just that body of work and just how important it was to take a song like that and really set the tone for that album.
For Emotional?
For Pinto, looking back at Pinto, looking at Pinto leading off that record to set the tone for the rest of the music on there.
Yeah, well, Pinto was, I feel like, kind of a lucky experience for me as an artist, in that it was, I feel like the song Pinto, the title track, came to me really early in the creative process, I guess. And I was able to, like, once I had that song written, it was very just incredibly influential and inspiring, and gave me basically the backbone, or like the centerfold of what would turn out to be the whole record. And so Pinto was written really early on, and then I could go ahead and say to co-writers and to, you know, collaborative people working on the project, like, so it's not done yet, but it's called Pinto. Here's all the visual, here's the subject matter, here's the messaging. It felt all very done and branded very early on. And so it gave me very clear margins in terms of what I wanted to do and how I wanted to create. And it definitely informed sort of the rest of the songs as they were written. We kind of had this sort of template for, you know, the emotions that we wanted to evoke, and how we wanted people to, you know, the place we wanted to take them. And so I feel really spoiled because I don't feel like that happens with every album cycle. Sometimes you just have to create, and it's almost like you are kind of digging for gold as you're writing, and you don't really know where the album is going until you have like 5 to 7 songs written. And then you can look at them and sort of be like, what's common about this and how can we kind of piece this together? And, you know, because there's you don't have to worry that there isn't anything there, because if you're in there writing, I mean, there is a common thread. You just have to find it. And so I feel like Pinto was kind of a blessing in that way, because it felt like I started from a really clear vantage point, and then felt like shading it all in was kind of easy after that. And so yeah, and getting to showcase Pinto as a single was always kind of the vision, because it was very much kind of the front runner, or like the center frame of the entire record.
Yeah, it creates some great art out there too from the great Sykamore
Thank
too.
you.
We'll come back after this timeout too. We'll talk about Through the Static, which is 4 new songs out there too. Came out last Friday, right there on Easter weekend too. Hope everybody had a great Easter out there too as well, and definitely enjoyed time with the family too as well. But hey, if you're looking to spend some money, I know I always am too out there online shopping. You can do it right now. It's with our friends over at Jewelry by Tommy, your spouse, friend, a family member too out there. He's got you covered. Email our friend Tom Burley at burleysystem@yahoo.com today to order out there too. You know, hey, guys like jewelry. So, hey, wives, get some there too as well. And gentlemen, take care of your ladies. We just passed Valentine's Day there about a month and a half ago. So never too late to shop with our friends at Jewelry by Tommy out there too. Quick timeout, more with Sykamore. We'll talk about Through the Static, the EP out there across all these streaming platforms. Stay tuned. The Backstage Pass continues.
Ever thought about owning your own business? Tanya Lapsley-Cockett did. She decided a little over 5 years ago that she was going to be an entrepreneur, so she started her travel business. Tanya is married and works a full-time job. Her business has given her amazing opportunities. Not only does she get to help people create memories by booking their vacations, sporting and entertainment tickets, rental cars, etc., but it has also allowed her to help other families create legacy income. The travel industry is extremely lucrative and is an $8 trillion industry. The travel industry is projected to earn in excess of $15 trillion over the next 10 years. The travel industry pays its professionals up to 70 to 80% commission on the travel that they book for themselves and their clients. As a travel business owner, Tanya books travel and teaches others how to own and operate their own travel business. She is a director in training on the marketing side of her business, where she has helped over 90 families start their own businesses. If you're interested in owning your own travel business, please contact Tanya at 917-743-1199 or at ladytlc3555@me.com.
The Caden Gordon Show. Today's best country mix is a 2-hour show playing independent and mainstream country music you know and love. Be sure to check it out at thecadengordonshow.com for more information on the show.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass. And, of course, back here on the show, if you're looking for that best in country Christian music, check out my good buddy out there. Just had dinner with him the other day, Jonathan Bond out there at jonathanbond.com. Of course, click that link below right there, too. Check out his nice YouTube video out there, too. Always uplifting, positive messages, the best in country Christian music out there from a good friend, Grammy singer-songwriter Jonathan Bond out there, too. Back here with Sykamore on the Backstage Pass, KKTC True Country 99.9, and our friends out there at hightidecountry.net too. The new album Through the Static. I just love that title of an EP. That's across all these streaming platforms. So let's break this one down. New music last week. How exciting was it to get this out? All this body of work again, as people just clamor for new music out there too. And you guys really picked some great songs for this record.
Yeah, it was. I think it's always exciting and always a little bit even scary to put out new music, just especially because I took over maybe a year and a half off. And whenever you go away for a little bit, you always hope that people are going to be still interested when you put music back out. And so there's an element of it that's scary, but it's also just exciting as you kind of tease it a little bit and get people's initial reactions. So it felt great to just put any new music out, but in particular these songs, because I just felt like they showcased, how much more I've grown as a songwriter and as a singer. And I think that's selfishly another kind of fun part about releasing music, is you feel like you can just showcase how much you've grown, because there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. And you wait for these kind of little windows of opportunity to showcase just how much more into your craft you've become. And so it was really great to put these songs out, and it just felt like a really natural next step.
The one I'd say that caught my attention, they all were great off of there too, but that one that just really was me, and the connection I made to it was Highway Towns. I thought that was another great one there that just kind of feel that too, because if you just understand what that song's about, if people hadn't heard it out there too, it's on the new EP there from Sykamore, Through the Static. Highway Towns. Let's break that one down a little bit.
Yeah, so Highway Towns actually contains the title of the EP. So in the first verse, it talks about, so the EP is called Through the Static, and Highway Towns was sort of written and born out of my experience driving all over North America, being a touring musician. And especially being from Alberta, Canada, I don't know if you've ever been, but up there's quite a bit of open land. We have the second biggest country in the world, but we actually only have 30 million people that live in Canada, as opposed to the States, which has 300 million or something close to that.
Something like that.
And so there's quite a bit of empty just land, and it's all really beautiful, but you get used to, not just as a touring musician, as just an Albertan, you get used to driving between towns and cities and just, doing your day-to-day things. And, in my experience, I'm driving all around, and over time you start seeing signs for towns that you've been to, or in my case, this song was sort of inspired by driving around and seeing, signs for towns. And it's like someone from my past that I don't really talk to anymore, but I always think of them when I see the sign that like signals for their hometown is in however many miles or kilometers. And so that's sort of how this song was born, and it ends up sort of being a commentary on how sometimes relationships are like towns along the highway. You can roll into them, and you can spend time there, and you can have a good time there, but you're not really meant to stay there, and it might inhibit your growth or inhibit your journey if you stay. And so it's sort of the notion that you need to leave kind of towns in the rearview mirror, and sometimes you need to leave people behind to move on to the next best thing. And so it was sort of a metaphor for some relationships that I've had in my life.
It's a beautiful, beautiful song, no doubt, too. And I love the way y'all finished it up there. You mentioned emotional, setting the tone for this one, Highway Towns, and, of course, more where that came from, but also Perfect Storm. I thought Perfect Storm was another, just one of those songs that really fit you, and the writing in there, too, was so very easily connected if people have heard that specific tune.
Yeah, it's funny that you mention it, because actually here in Nashville, we've had like storm watches all day, and it's pouring rain outside my window right now. And, it's been good so far, and knock wood, it's going to stay this way. But there's sort of been like severe weather warnings all day. But I've always been kind of a big fan of songs that are heavy on imagery and heavy on kind of symbolism. And so I got together with my co-writer. He's another artist, and he's actually from Scotland, but he lives here in Nashville. His name is Sean Kennedy. And we decided to write something that was kind of in that vein, that was sort of looking at a relationship that's kind of bygone, and you're looking back on it and kind of recalling how, like, all the ways that it sort of felt a little bit dangerous and a little bit just heightened and exciting, and at times maybe a little bit kind of treacherous or hazardous. And so I feel like it's similar to Pinto in that way. But yeah, we kind of decided to focus on the kind of storm-like kind of churning up of mixed emotions that happen sometimes with certain maybe like toxic relationships. And so, yeah, there's a lot of imagery that's kind of heavy on, dancing in the rain and getting swept away, and getting caught in the wind and things like that. And so we called it, the relationship is sort of at the end of the hook. It's like, just call it the perfect storm, because that's kind of what it ends up being.
No doubt, too. Made me think of the actual movie that they made with George Clooney. There, you take people on a ride, and that was just kind of one of those things, like you read the forecast, things like that, because there was that movie back late 90s, early 2000s, somewhere in there, that I think it was George Clooney was the star of it too. It had a great cast, and I believe was Mark Wahlberg in it. Perfect Storm that was out there too. That was a great movie, and it just kind of set the tone, like it was going to take people, and just like that, reminded me it could be a theme song of a movie or something like that. You're like really put that kind of spin on it. I mean, that just, it's, I love what you do in your lyrics is really, really cool. Talk about that a little bit, about your process of songwriting, your favorite part of, creating really something, seeing it being born from just an idea.
Well, I think there's an element of it. It's funny. There's a part of songwriting that I really hate, and it's like unescapable. And it is the very beginning, because I am usually overwhelmed by possibilities and options. And I think a lot of songwriters can relate to this, if you go into it with kind of a perfectionist mindset, and as an artist, you want to leave the room, you hope to leave the room with a song that you're going to record, and you don't want to waste your day. So, I usually come into the writing room with an idea, like with usually a song title or a piece of a lyric or something that we can kind of build on. And the part that I don't like is when the canvas is completely blank, and you have to make that first paint splash or whatever. Like you have to commit to a direction. I get kind of anxious in that moment because there's so many directions to take. But what I do like is when you finally, it's just something you have to struggle through. And I think it's almost necessary to kind of just be a little bit meticulous in the beginning. But then once you kind of get your basic structure set up, I feel like that's when I start to really get excited, because you can start to see the end. And then in a way you keep seeing possibility, but you also, you start to kind of actually apply it to your artistry, and you can see how it's going to fit in your brand and everything. And once it starts to feel like it's kind of gelling and there's chemistry happening, and that the song is going to get finished and it's going to be something really useful and essential to you, that's when I start to get excited, and I start to make all the plans for the music video in my head and everything else. And so that's probably my favorite part.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that too, and we'll take a time out and we'll come back. But music videos, I'm seeing more and more of them now on all different streaming platforms out there too. Love what you've done with some of the ones that you've done in the past and stuff like that, and kind of the plans for music videos. But we'll take that time out and get to that question after this break, coming up here more with Sykamore on the Backstage Pass. Of course, if you want to buy Sykamore, myself, or anybody jewelry out there too, just make sure you do that at our friends at Jewelry by Tommy. It's a perfect gift for your spouse, friend, or family member. Email our friend Tom Burley over at burleysystem@yahoo.com today to order. It's handcrafted, handmade. It's Jewelry by Tommy. More to come here. It is the Backstage Pass, live at the sportsguyspodcast.com, and of course out there, KKTC True Country 99.9, and our friends at hightidecountry.net. Stay tuned.
The Caden Gordon Show is a 2-hour show playing the best in country music. So check it out at thecadengordonshow.com. Again, that is thecadengordonshow.com.
Ever thought about owning your own business? Tanya Lapsley-Cockett did. She decided a little over 5 years ago that she was going to be an entrepreneur, so she started her travel business. Tanya is married and works a full-time job. Her business has given her amazing opportunities. Not only does she get to help people create memories by booking their vacations, sporting and entertainment tickets, rental cars, etc., but it has also allowed her to help other families create legacy income. The travel industry is extremely lucrative and is an $8 trillion industry. The travel industry is projected to earn in excess of $15 trillion over the next 10 years. The travel industry pays its professionals up to 70 to 80% commission on the travel that they book for themselves and their clients. As a travel business owner, Tanya books travel and teaches others how to own and operate their own travel business. She is a director in training on the marketing side of her business, where she has helped over 90 families start their own businesses. If you're interested in owning your own travel business, please contact Tanya at 917-743-1199 or at ladytlc3555@me.com.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by thesportsguyspodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by thesportsguyspodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass. And, of course, back here, if you're looking for that best in country Christian music, always a good friend Jonathan Bond has an uplifting message out there, too. Check him out, jonathanbond.com, and click that link right there, too. You see on your screen there, too. More to come there. Over the next few weeks, we'll be seeing Jonathan at CMA Fest coming up in Nashville at the Grand Ole Opry, and might have a shot to go backstage and do some interviews in beautiful Nashville, Tennessee, courtesy of the Backstage Pass and our friends at the Grand Ole Opry coming up June 7 to the 9th, I believe the exact dates for CMA Fest. Back here with Sykamore on the show. Through the Static is the EP we're talking about here, breaking down some songs. More where that came from. Definitely have to dive into this one.
Yeah, so this one is probably the most recently written out of the four. And it was me and my friend Bobby Campbell, he's like a longtime collaboration partner, I guess. He worked a lot with me on the Pinto record. He did all the vocal production and all the programming. And we met several years ago just as songwriters and kept in touch because we just had such great chemistry. And so when it came time to work on the rest of this EP, he's the producer on the entire EP. And this is, I guess, the only song that he's a co-writer on. But I kind of came in with the idea of kind of the prospect of like the beginning of a romance and kind of knowing a little bit about where it's about to go and just kind of capturing that feeling of excitement and sort of being like, I know we have something special here and there's just got to be more where it's coming from. Like there's kind of abundant source and, wanting to capture just that kind of initial butterflies and feeling like I can't wait to find out what else is in store. So that's kind of where this came from.
Well, you put a spin on a great song called Go Easy on Me, and that's Fleetwood Mac. Just vibe of that whole, just that song is so good. Man, you really put like I said, great personal spin on what you did with that particular tune. I believe that was 2021 when that one came out too as well. That's just great song, and I'm sure you had to be a fan growing up. Just what a I'm gonna say a kick-ass song. It really is.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that one is I think it's probably one of the more obvious in terms of my like nostalgic influences coming through. I feel like you can hear it a little bit kind of throughout my music, and sometimes it tends to we just let it really showcase itself. And so it definitely, we took a lot of influence from kind of the late 70s, early 80s pop and kind of singer-songwriter for that one. And yeah, it's it kind of went on to have a bit of a life of its own. It ended up getting featured on a pretty big Apple Music podcast and channel, and it got featured in a Boot Barn ad actually, which is like a big deal in Nashville and kind of in the South. And so that was fun, and it was great to sort of have that one be, because I was still pretty early on, especially in my American career, and so to have people sort of associate me with a song that's a little bit throwback and nostalgic is, I'm not mad at that at all.
No, it would be either, no doubt. Also, we were talking about collaborations. Top of the show, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention one that another fantastic singer, Ryan Kinder, who's really kicking some tail out there. Y'all did a song together called "Doing Fine."
Yeah, we have been buds for a little bit, and this song, we ended up writing it together, and I feel like it might have been the first song I ever wrote via Zoom. I think it was early 2020, and everybody was writing on Zoom because nobody was hanging out.
Sure.
And I didn't really know if I liked writing on Zoom or if I would be very effective. And if I remember it right, it was the two of us and our friend Justin Morgan. And I think we got through most of the song, and then we knew it would be a duet kind of early on. So it was sort of Ryan kind of was a little heavier handed writing his verse, and then I wrote mine. But I do remember sort of being like, can I like shut the camera off or just like shut off the Zoom and go and like write my verse and then like call you guys back? Because I just didn't really understand. It just felt so strange to exist in this like false interface. And so I think I ended up getting back to them like a day or two later, and I was like, this is what I came up with. And they didn't really have many notes, and so that's kind of how the song was written. And then towards the end of 2020, we were able to go to Alabama, where Ryan is from, and shoot this music video where I end up like stealing his dog and stealing his car, and it was kind of a wild day of shooting. But no, I love Ryan. I just talked to him earlier today.
Good stuff, no doubt. Again, Through the Static, the EP with out there across all these streaming platforms from the great Sykamore out there too. And speaking of music videos, I got to ask you too. There's got to be some stuff coming down the pike for additional things, especially coming off this new EP.
There's some plans in place, and I guess today's Tuesday. It was on Thursday we were shooting something. So with any luck, it should be coming down the pipe in maybe a week or two. And I don't know if I want to spoil which song it's for. It's for something on this EP, but yeah, there's something in the works for sure.
No doubt too. Well, I'll tell you, I just got back there. I got to have a little fun with you in rapid fire. I finally got the Hattie B's chicken. I was
did?
Phenomenal.
How hot did you go?
I went, what's funny? Some people called me crazy, but I went medium. I did just to.
Hey, I mean, Hattie B's medium is still like has some. You were probably sweating a little bit even on medium.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. I mean, the friend I went to eat with out there was a little bit, but I tell you that was my favorite one. And I got to try one called Party Foul next time. They say it's really good. And then of course I want to try the original.
I haven't tried Party Foul, but
have you
I
done
see
Prince's?
it everywhere.
The Prince's?
No. I haven't, and I think Prince's is sort of the one ever like that's sort of the OG. I feel like that people say. So I should, since I live here, I should probably do that at some point. But Hattie B's is great, and I like that there's a couple of locations now throughout the city, and so if you're craving it, and you can probably get it pretty much wherever you are in the city. So that's what I like about it. But I do get the hot. I won't go any further than hot because I think it goes from hot to damn hot, and then like it's called like shut the cluck up or something. But
I love that saying. That's good stuff.
Well, but I feel like I commend you for getting medium because there is an option to get like Southern, which is literally just seasoning. It's not hot sauce at all. So
no, I was more than impressed, and honestly, it was the best I'd had, and that's why hot chicken is a theme up there too that you really have to check out when you're in town. We're gonna do it again coming up for a CMA Fest, and would love to get out there and do probably just stick to medium again. Any new shows you're getting into to binge watch now?
Oh, shows to binge watch. Let's see. I'm trying to think of new stuff. I'm kind of a sucker for just rewatching old shows that I like. But I did just rewatch, I watched. It's called Made on Netflix, and that came out. I don't think it's new, but it was new to me with Margaret Qualley. That was really good. It's kind of a heavier drama, but it was really good. And what else have I been watching? Yeah, I mean, it's always, I feel like whenever I'm working from home, I just have like The Office, or I'm actually a huge fan of Golden Girls, that show from the 90s.
Yes, I love that show.
I just did some like a press interview yesterday, and no one, I feel like to date, no one had ever asked me about Golden Girls in an interview. And they did like 3 questions on it for me. Like they were like, what was your favorite episode, and which Golden Girl do you think would like your music the most? And I was so happy to discuss that. I almost felt like I needed to like shorten what I was talking about because I was like, I'm going on and on about this.
Well, who was your favorite Golden Girl? Just go ahead and tell it. Spill the beans.
Well, I mean, Blanche. So I had kind of 3 best friends in high school growing up, and we each kind of assigned a Golden Girl character to ourselves. And I was Blanche Devereaux, who is from, I think she's from Georgia originally, and so it's a little fitting, I guess, now that I live in the South. But Sophia, the oldest one, she's like the mother. She has some of the best lines, I feel like she has some of the best one-liners. So it's toss up between those 2.
Love it. Good stuff. I still watch the reruns, and the old shows never get old when it comes to it out there too at the same time. Hey, I love this music. Through the Static is across all these streaming platforms. Let's not wait again to connect another couple of years. Let's keep going.
I feel like I'm not going to take a year and a half off this time, so you'll be hearing from me sooner than
I will, because those press releases inbox are right there too, and it's always good when your name comes across my desk to put them together and keep putting out great music up there too. And hey, if we're there at CMA Fest, I plan on being there June 6th to about the 11th. Would love to, if you're out there playing, would love to come see you on the stages or whatever the itinerary is, which I have no idea what we're going to be doing there, but at least at some point having some fun at some of the performances out there too. Check her out online. Go get the EP across all these streaming platforms through the Static. And always much love and appreciate you coming by and sharing some time with us too as well. And always would welcome you back. Hope you had a great time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
One of our favorites out there, Sykamore here on the broadcast. Of course, coming up here in a few minutes, one more show today. And, of course, we'll catch that with Karen Waldrop on The Voice coming up on Thursday and a whole lot more here. Thanks to the sponsors. We'll see you guys back in a flash here with another show coming up from the Backstage Pass. God bless. Stay tuned for a lot more.